We'll move on, Keith, and talk about Aston Villa because they extended their accounting period from the 31st of May to the 30th of June this year. Do you feel they would have failed PSR without that move potentially?
Well, I think you're talking about really the extension, I think, is going to be for the next accounting period reporting, as I understand it. But the PSR at Villa, I think, is good. The way I've been counting it, and I've been keeping a close tab on the ins and outs, but of course, we never know the real details of the ins and outs. And I, more than anybody, know that what's often reported in the media is so far off the reality of the actual deal that's being done, both in terms of the amounts and also the timings. So I have to take it myself with a pinch of salt, but I reckon they're about 46 million to the positive in terms of their trading deals that they've done so far. I think that should be enough to, again, just about put them in the safety zone. I'm hoping anyway. Now, next year is going to be a whole different kettle of fish for them as they go forward again. They've got Champions League revenue coming in, different things as well. So hopefully they'll be able to strengthen with that sort of money coming in. But it's going to be always a bit of a battle right now to get to go in there. And that's what everybody's realising. You've heard noises from Soris and Edens about how they feel the present system isn't adequate. And he's talking about potentially suing the Premier League on it. Everybody's now finally waking up to the fact that this PSR system is broken. It does nothing more than protect the top level clubs, and it's just wrong. It needs to be rethought quickly.
If we pick up on one of the deals, Keith, it was just announced. We know Douglas Luiz has officially moved to Juventus for £42 million. Do you think that was the defining factor in getting them over the line with FFP and PSR, as we discussed in previous weeks, that they had to sell going into that June 30th deadline?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that there was enough breathing space because I think they've had Luiz now, is it 3 or 4 years? I think he's been there. So he's been paid down in terms of amortization quite a lot in terms of his valuation. So that was a big one for them to get through. Also, Kellyman was, I think, another key one down to Chelsea. So that's another interesting one that they've done. And then the other ones that everybody's moaning about right now, or at least some of the big clubs are moaning about, are what they call the PSR transfer window up till June 30th, whereas they've been quite active in that area as well, as have Everton, as have Newcastle. And so it's interesting to see, but I think Villa's going to be okay. They've acted prudently, as you'd expect from good owners like that. And I think they've done well in this transfer window. And now they've got a season to really look forward to and see if they can push on. I saw Ross Barkley was officially announced and finally signed as well. He's now got to rise and shine in Champions League fixtures. Ross is capable of it, but he's really got to focus and get his head right to do that. We all know he's a great talent. And hopefully he can shine on Champions League there if he does, and Villa can go forward. Ollie Watkins chips in. This could be a really great season for Villa. And if they can somehow manage to get out of that group stage, that will be a big leap forward for Villa, then having to challenge those other top clubs.
If we focus, Keith, on that Louise deal, what were your thoughts on that for them from a playing point of view, picking up on the Champions League? And do you feel it's a bit of a backwards step for the club, given how far they came last season and then the sort of hopes and dreams for next, that actually losing one of their top stars could sort of dampen their Champions League campaign potentially?
No, look, I think Louise is without doubt a very talented player. But speaking to my Villa sources, they do believe that they needed something a little bit with more options in midfield. And they felt they could cover what Louise does quite well, but they wanted more forward options. And that's what I think Barkley can bring in as well. So it was a case of they felt they were maybe overstocked in certain styles in midfield, and they've let Louise go knowing that they can now have more options. And that's what Amari likes, like any good manager. He wants options. So I think that's the reason behind letting him go. Obviously, he's a loss to any team. He's a quality player. But I think that's how they see it going forward.
Keith, you mentioned in there Amari Kellyman sold to Chelsea for £19 million. He played less than one Premier League game actually for Villa, and he played about a half of a game. What are your thoughts? And is it fair that some fans were calling out some of these sort of FFP deals, if you'd like to refer to them as that?
Look, I understand the argument, but it's something that's been going on forever, and it's certainly allowed to happen within the rules. The valuations to me seem quite sensible in terms of some of the deals that have been done recently. What is a young, talented player worth at 20? What was Wayne Rooney worth at 17? I know what he was worth because I was involved in selling him. And Wayne Rooney went for 24 million plus 4 million add-ons. Now, who would pay that for Wayne Rooney now at 17? So, what is a 20-year-old worth? We're seeing some very strange numbers coming into the whole football game, as we've seen over the years gone by. There's been a lot of flops, and nobody likes to talk about those flops either, where they've spent some big money. I mean, Chelsea, just looking there, I mean, they've spent a lot of money just in the last 2-3 years. And would they be better off having a youngster coming in at 10 million, 20 million? Maybe. So it's very difficult to say that these are wrong. But look, young talent has always got a price, especially homegrown young talent. And I think we're still under 20 million. Anything under 20 million is still within the realms of very sensible business.
One of the deals, Keith, that was announced for Villa, of course, was Ian Matson from Chelsea. So another player from Chelsea to Villa, or Villa to Chelsea, for £37.5 million. Was absolutely fantastic last season at Borussia Dortmund. Is that setting a precedent for the season ahead and sort of the statement of intent that Emery wants and the signings that they're hoping to make for the summer?
I think it is. I think it's absolutely setting an intent. He's showing there somebody that's adapted to European-style football, gives him options again. And that's what Emery's very good at, is having lots of different options to play with. And that's where his real skill is as a manager, and not letting the opponents know which way he's going to set up and be able to make changes mid-games. So I think Matson is a very exciting signing for them. I think, again, that valuation is low to me, actually. I thought he'd be nearer to 50. I think he is definitely one for the future. I think the Villa fans are going to love him. He's an exciting player. And so Emery, as I say, he's getting more options, more different styles of player, and that's what I like to see is being collected and allowing him to make those, varied strategic formations, which he's very good at. He's got a great football brain, and I think Villa could be a very exciting team to watch next year.
And to wrap up totally, Keith, we know ticket prices have risen at Villa Park, and fans actually are expressing anger both on social media and in real life as well. What are your thoughts on the sort of 10 to 15% increase for tickets there and the fans' reaction too?
Well, yeah, I've been speaking to some of the Villa fans about this. Yes, there is a lot of unhappiness about it. The sort of way I would sum it up, they said, look, we're being charged Champions League prices, but we don't know if we're going to get Champions League service yet. And that's what they're going to be watching, as to how that, particularly in the hospitality sections, that's what they're going to be watching to see if there are, measurable improvements in the product they get as well. So that has to be seen. I think there's a general acceptance, a grudging acceptance, that Villa need to do this. They still need somehow to get the capacity up at Villa Park, which is another area. And that's all linked to the transportation issues around Villa Park, as we've discussed before. So there's a bit of a chicken and egg there. And at the moment, well, the new CEO is definitely, Mr. Heck, Chris Heck, is known for increasing revenue, and whatever it takes to do it, he will do it. So they're going to need it if you're going to stay in that top 4 position, you're going to need those chips to be able to put on the table and gamble with. And they're going to get the backing of the owners. So I think the Villa fans, I'm guessing, look, everybody's going to moan when you see the prices go up. Of course you are. But they're also, you bet they're going to get those tickets because they want to be there for Champions League games, see Villa back in Europe in a major way. And if they can squeeze through those group stages, as I say, then everybody will forget the price increase, believe me, and everybody will be very happy again. But look, it's something that the clubs have to watch. There is a finite level that people do reach, but they've probably done it knowing they're coming into a Champions League season.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.